Frankly, I am shocked and impressed by the desire and drive to fix and improve a 27-year-old Atari Jaguar game. In December 1996, Towers 2 Plight of the Stargazer was released for the Atari Jaguar. That's right, 1996. Almost, in fact, 1997. The Jaguar was more than dead by this point. The fact that they released this title despite knowing it'd sell poorly is pretty telling. Apparently, they were very passionate, and that fire never died. In 2023, they decided to double the ROM size, pack in several upgrades, and re-release the game via publisher Songbird Productions as Towers 2 Enhanced Stargazer Edition. Now, I should note that I received this game for free via Songbird Productions, but my opinions are my own and I'm not being paid to review it. Now, the reason they actually reached out to me was because 6 years ago I did a review of the original game. In that review, I had positive but also mixed feelings. I rewatched the review and probably gave it too high of a score. I gave it a 7.5. I think I was trying to be lenient because, first-person D&D RPGs weren't really my genre, so I was trying to be additionally kind considering that it wasn't really my style of game. But looking back, I probably should have given it more like a 6 out of 10 or something akin to that. There is a lot to love here, though. It's an endless labyrinth with so many floors to explore. Every new bit of armor or progress feels just so incredibly rewarding. But it also has a grueling difficulty, and there is damn near no in-game help. Every step is an obscure puzzle. And at the time, too, there seemed to be less content online about the game. Very few reviews showcased anything beyond the third floor, and any walkthrough that I did find was an uninviting 50-page wall of text. Now, you've probably gotten a basic idea of the game between the footage and how I've described it, but here are some old clips of my initial review describing the original game and its feel.
You start up the game by picking your avatar. Of course, all the avatars have different stats, and then you get started. This is a first-person perspective D&D style dungeon crawler. Think Wolfenstein, but an RPG with 10 times more massive levels, but 1/4 of the draw distance. Now, aside from equipping and fighting, each level of this game is a puzzle. And I do literally mean levels because it's in a tower and you're going up and up and up and up. Now, sometimes this means you realize that you can interact with something like a chain. Sometimes it's deciding which chains to pull in which order to open something up. Other times, it means finding a hidden passage. Now, keep in mind that this isn't like Wolfenstein, where a secret passage means extra ammo, or more weapons, or treasure, or something like that. These are a hard requirement for moving forward in the game. I do like the presentation overall. It's dim, it's dark, it's dank. They did do a good job of making a giant playworld with tons of atmosphere. However, I do think that although it's big, the biggest problem is that there's not enough differentiation. The levels change just so very slowly, and it adds to the confusion as to, wondering where you are constantly, because it's so hard to tell, and the levels are not different in any way. Well, different in minor ways, I should say. I think that if, for example, they couldn't include different textures because of storage limitations on the cart, they should have just halved the size of the game and added in more differentiation for a richer experience.
Now, I will stop there for now, and let's go ahead and talk about the concept of that ROM size. Now, at the time, 1996, 1997, carts were restricted, so my suggestion was, for the original developers, if they had a time machine, to go back, cut down the number of levels, cut down the amount of game, and use that additional space to increase texture variety. Again, part of the daunting nature of this labyrinth was the similarity between levels. You begin to feel very trapped, confused, claustrophobic. But in 2023, ROM size is a non-issue. So the enhanced version's been upgraded from 2 megabytes to 4. Similarly, the save memory was upgraded from 128 bytes to approximately 2 kilobytes, which is a massive difference. So let's start with the visual differences. There are big adjustments to textures, thank God. Way more variety, and everything has been redone. Songbird Productions tells me there's an increase in texture resolution, but there's also a slight increase in vertical resolution from 320 by 200 to 320 by 220, so an additional 20 lines. Basic lighting effects have also been employed now, little flares and touches. The renders for the weapons, although you only see them very briefly as you attack, are much more clear now. There's also an upgrade to the map system, although not quite as much as I'd like. Both feature a map that fills in as you explore. However, the Enhanced Edition has new features including the labeling of warp points, floor and ceiling holes, stairs, chains and switches, etc. It also seems to have a wider perimeter that fills in more as you explore. Between the better map and the improved visuals, the despair of spatial confusion is lessened in the Enhanced 2023 edition. Not gone, but lessened. That said, the draw distance is still about the same. There is improved speed / improved frame rate though. The enhanced version uses an optimized assembly code that runs about 10 to 15% faster compared to the original. Now, I would have loved to see an increase in draw distance, but overall I'm still very happy with the visual improvements. Even without that additional draw distance, these improvements just sort of help me see and distinguish things better. Now earlier I mentioned the increased save data size. In the original game, if you saved and returned, so did the enemies you slayed. Doors would reshut, etc. You would return to the same floor, but it would essentially function more like a level checkpoint than, say, like a save state. With the increased space, saving is more precise and your in-level actions are saved as well. Between the expanded size of saves and the overall ROM size, there is increased loading here as well. However, it practically doesn't really matter. We're still talking about a cartridge load here. It's nothing compared to like, mid-late 90s CD loads or anything like that. It's more than worth the trade-off. Now, aside from the visuals, there are also some quality of life upgrades here. Now, as I mentioned in my original review, you find plenty of weapons and armor. However, you don't get stats for any of them. It's complete guesswork as to which is better than the other. The game is not here to hold your hand in any way, shape, or form. The new version gives you stats. Power and weight, thank God. And there are a variety of items here, tradable items, food, armor, weapons, etc. In the enhanced version, when you pick up an item, the menu will automatically take the cursor to where it can be used or equipped. Instead of requiring you to toggle between your armor sets for equipment or your avatar for food, etc., it's just a bit more streamlined. Unfortunately though, your inventory screen is still not a pause screen, so you can get attacked while you're trying to equip things. This was especially an issue in the original version because you had to go into this inventory screen to get your hand icon, to open doors, pull switches, chains, etc., and it made you very vulnerable. With the new version, you don't have to utilize your hand icon to open doors or pull switches or whatever, so it's much easier. It puts you much less at risk when you try to do these actions. There'd be many times in the original where I would open a door, and then there'd be an enemy on the other side, and it would take me a second to leave that menu while the enemy was attacking me. On the topic of enemies and NPCs, those that you can speak with will now stop to talk to you. Before, they would talk to you, but they might continue their walk cycle, so it'd be like they'd be talking, but also like walking away from you. Very strange. It's very bizarre. They also have voices now, taken from the Atari Falcon version.
Just throw a couple ice balls at it. Just throw a couple ice balls at it.
There are also NPCs that you need to complete trade sequences with as well. In the original game, you could accidentally kill them and make the game functionally unwinnable, because you just didn't know. The game, again, doesn't hold your hand. That, however, is no longer the case. You can't kill necessary NPCs until you complete the trade. Feel free to kill them after, though, for extra XP. Enemies also now have health bars, which is very helpful, and if they are immune to your attack, it will actually tell you. In the previous version, it could be very hard to tell if anything you're doing was causing any sort of damage whatsoever. That said, the AI is still dumb as hell. Sometimes you'll attack an enemy and they'll just kind of wander off while you're stabbing them in the back. Other times they're super aggressive. It doesn't make any sense. Now, there are many more improvements in Towers 2, Enhanced Stargazer Edition, that I'm not going to go into here because it would take me all day. The video would be double or triple the length. But if you're interested, I'll include some links to comparison videos in the description below, and I'm also including a link to Songbird Productions where you can order the game yourself and play it if you're interested. So how would I rate this game? If my current review of the original is around a 6, I'd probably give this one that 7.5 that I initially gave the previous version. I think that it earns it. It's significantly improved, and I genuinely enjoyed my time with it. However, I did get to a certain point where it still became very daunting. Now, if you're into D&D style RPGs, you're gonna like this one. But I also think that it's an adventure that you're gonna need to commit to, chipping away at it bit by bit by bit. When you take this approach, the game absolutely rewards you. But if this isn't your genre, I would steer clear of it because it can be just too daunting for many people. You know, if you're not into this style, well, you really have to think and figure it out. If you're not willing to be frustrated, you probably would rate both of the versions of this particular title at around a 4 or something like that, because it's just too not approachable. But if you like the retro style, if you like the real thinking man's RPG, and not even thinking man's, but sometimes guessing man's RPG, I think you're gonna enjoy this one. But again, if it's not your genre, you're gonna struggle. So let me know what you guys think of this. Does this look rewarding to you? Is this something that you would play at home? And of course, we really appreciate all of you watching. And if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell. We're hoping to get to around 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, hopefully, finally, maybe. And your subscription would very much help that effort. Thank you so much again for watching. I hope to see you all back for the next one.